What's up, sisters? This is your boy, Beef, and welcome back to the channel. One of the most popular mods for Baldur's Gate 3 on both PC and console has been the mod that allows you to unlock the party limit and travel across Faerun with all of your companions in tow. One of the biggest drawbacks of this, however, is that the game was intended for a party of 4 players, or fewer, which means if you have more than 4, you can breeze through literally any fight in the game. And until recently, we didn't have much in the way toward making the game more difficult and scaling towards larger adventuring parties. So today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into the new Tactician Enhanced mod for Baldur's Gate 3. Before we get too far into it, I just wanted to say thanks to everyone for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I'm so glad you're here. If you like videos like this, let me know by liking and subscribing, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now that I'm done sucking up, let's get on into the mod. So Tactician Enhanced has 3 primary methods for increasing the difficulty of the base game, being your hit points, actions, and your bonus actions. Eventually, the creator wants to incorporate different buffs that can be applied to enemies, but we're not quite there yet. This mod is also compatible with any difficulty setting. You don't need to be on Tactician. You could do it on Explorer if you want to. You could do it on Honor Mode and even Custom. So you can really just kind of pick and choose however you want to play, and then your difficulty through here too. But so the first thing that you're going to want to do when you install the mod is check your hotbar for a new ability called Toggle Tactician Enhanced Configuration Spells. There's a whole bunch of info there, but most of what you need to know is that we are going to click on it to toggle it. And now we're going to go into our spellbook and look at common. And under common, you can see we got 3 new cantrips and 3 new class actions. So we're going to go ahead and drag these down into our hotbar just so we can go ahead and take a closer look at them. So the first one is check current Tactician Enhanced core settings. This one is just going to let us cast the spell, and it's going to show us what our current settings are. Our current settings are set to static mode. Enemy hit points are increased by 0%. Enemies have 0 additional actions, and enemies have 0 additional bonus actions. I haven't made any changes to it, so mine is just kind of at a base state right now. The other one is View Setup Guide for Tactician Enhanced. When you cast this one, it's going to pop up this little help window here, which is going to give you a ton of information, which is where I got a lot of my information, actually. This is a really great info here that kind of explains everything about how to use it, and it's several pages that explains static and scaling mode, which we'll actually get into later, and explains how they work and how the different linear hit point scalings and different kind of things like that work. This is all stuff that is a lot of information here. The other one is a button that allows us to uninstall Tactician Enhanced. If you just wanted to remove it from your game save file, this is the button you would click to go ahead and do that. We're not going to do that right now because I want to keep going through it. So the other 3 additions that are available from our class actions, and these are going to be where we do most of our customization. If you don't want to do any specific customization, there are a number of presets available to choose from that make setup for this mod much easier and more hands-off. But you might sign yourself up for something you didn't realize you were. If you click on here, the settings preset for Tactician Enhanced, we'll go over these in a little bit more depth later. We also have an action which allows you to manually control each of the settings to get the best difficulty enhancement for you personally. That one is Modify Tactician Enhanced Core Settings. When you cast this one, it's going to give you switch between static and scaling modes, configure static mode, and configure scaling mode. So this mod features 2 modes for increasing the difficulty in your game, static and scaling. Static mode is effectively a flat blanket increase to your enemy's stats, while scaling mode adjusts the strength of your enemies as you slowly gain more and more companions throughout the game. Establishing your settings, static mode is pretty simple and intuitive. You pick how much extra health, actions, and bonus actions you want every single enemy in the game to have, and then it is so. It applies from the first enemy that you fight to the very last enemy that you fight. And scaling mode is both the more complex option and the one that most players will find success with as your party composition grows or shrinks over time. So after you cast it, the first thing that it's going to do is going to ask you, do you want to go ahead and figure scaling mode? At what number of party members would you like the difficulty to start increasing? So at this point, it's going to ask you when you want the difficulty to start increasing. It's going to default to 5 because the normal party limit is 4. But you can choose how many companions you want before difficulty starts to scale. You can click I want to decide where it begins myself. And it will start at 2, add 1 party member, add 3 party members, add 4. So now we'll just go back to 5 anyway. So now you can set an initial hit points increase. The initial hit points increase is going to be a blanket HP increase that you want to start the game with. You can this is going to apply to every single enemy as a static increase. You can set it right here. I'm going to set it as it's going to default to 5. We're going to go ahead and make it a 10%. So every enemy will have 10% additional HP just at the very beginning of before we even add in any other values. Would you like enemy hit points to scale up as more characters join your party? Yes, I want to set up enemy hit point scaling, so please select a hit point scaling mode. We have 3 different scaling modes here: linear, increasing, and decreasing. The linear scaling is going to cause your enemy hit points to increase by a percentage that goes up linearly, meaning if you start it at like 10%, it's going to do 10%, 20%, 30%, 40% if you added, so on. Increasing scaling is going to do essentially the same thing, but at an increased rate, so it's going to do like 10% and then 20% and then 30%, but kind of, what's a good way to explain? So like, for instance, if you start at 20%, and then it'll go to 30%, adding 10, and then it'll go to 50%, adding 20, and then it'll go to 80%, adding 30, just more, kind of like that. It's compounding. It's not compounding. I'm not that much into stats. You know what I mean. And decreasing is going to be the same concept, but in reverse. The first increase to enemy difficulty will be the largest, and slowly decrease in strength as you add new party members, for example, 20%, and then a 50% boost to 70%, and then maybe a 40% boost to 110, and then a 30% boost to 140, and then a 20% boost, and so on, until it's 0. So here you can see, instead of just kind of clicking on them, you have to click on switch selection to next option to kind of filter from one to the next. And we are going to go with increasing scaling, just because I want to show what it looks like. Choose a hit points interval. What this number does will depend on which hit point scaling mode you selected. Hit points interval will be 5%. This is going to be how much it increases every time that you want it to increase. So we're going to set it to 20%. Would you like to decide a number of party members where enemies get 1 additional action? Yes, please. Enemies will have 1 additional action once the party grows to 5 party members. Let's make it 6. So the process with actions and bonus actions is largely the same as with hit points. The mod will prompt you to select, obviously, at which levels you want to give an NPCs an additional action or bonus action. But Beef, what the fuck is the difference between giving enemies an action or a bonus action? Good question. The type of things that come at you from enemy actions are usually going to be either spells or weapon attacks, melee or ranged. This means if you give enemies an extra action, you're basically just giving them haste, whereas if you give them extra bonus actions, you're only going to get things that enemies can reasonably do with a bonus action. This means more shove attempts, more offhand weapon attacks, other things like that. As you get more into Act 2 and 3, this means bosses are a whole lot scarier too, especially if they have unique bonus actions or just anything that they have if they have haste now. They're a whole lot scarier. You can see here, we are going to go ahead and add that, and then we're going to, would you like to set a number of party members where enemies get 2 additional actions? No, I don't want them to ever have that many actions. That's too many actions, 3 actions total, because it'll be their normal 1 plus another 1. That's too much for me. Would you like to set a number of party members where enemies get 1 additional bonus action? Sure, let's give them a bonus action at, so we're clicking here to add a party member to change the 9 party members to 10 party members. Once we get Jahira and Minsk, they'll get an extra bonus action. Would you like to set a number of party members? No. You want enemy hit points to not increase further anytime enemies receive an extra action where the difficulty scales up. So this one is going to give you the option to not have the buffs stack per level, so that if it's a level where they're getting a new action, then they won't get health too. So it just kind of makes it so you're not getting double jeopardy. You want enemy hit points to not increase further anytime enemies receive an extra bonus action. Same thing, but with bonus actions. Scaling mode configuration complete. And now it's set, and this is active for our game. All in all, if you start the game as Tav, find all the companions you can get in Act 1, being Arlak, Will, Astarion, Shadowheart, Lae'zel, and Gale, 6. So you can come running out the gate with 7 level 2 characters wreaking havoc on the beach. You can decide how many extra hit points enemies are going to have, and also just give them way more attacks. If you happen to lose a few of them permanently for whatever reason, your game can then also scale back down with the new smaller party size too. So the mod is responsive based on how you configure it. All that said, sometimes fully customizing your game's difficulty like that can be a bit daunting and not what everyone is looking for. That's where presets come in. One of the spell actions available with the mod is called Settings Presets for Tactician Enhanced. It includes a bunch of pre-made scaling modes for you to choose from if you don't want to do all the configuration yourself. There's a whole bunch here. We have default preset for higher party limits. Each of them also, you can read here, has it describes all those different things that we just went through on our own. Difficulty scaling begins at 5 party members. Hit point scaling mode is increasing scaling, so it's the one that will go like 5%. The increasing interval is 10%, so it'll do 10% and then 20% and then 30% and then 40% increase. You'll get +1 enemy action at 6 party members, +2 enemy actions at 13, +1 enemy bonus action at 14 party members, and +2 enemy bonus actions at 16 party members. Hit points do not increase whenever an extra action or bonus action is given. This one's just like a blanket kind of. You want to make the difficulty harder? Go ahead and do this one. There's easier preset if you want it to be a little bit harder, but not super hard. Harder preset if you want it to be even more hard. A limited hit point scaling preset for higher party limits if you want to have the extra actions but not as many hit points. Only linear hit point scaling preset for higher party limits. This one does it the same thing but with the linear hit points, obviously the linear scaling. Only increasing hit points scaling preset for a higher party limit. You can see there's just a bunch in here. Tactician Honor doubled. More challenging Tactician Honor doubled, and then eventually you get to the Impossible Challenge. Adds 500% enemy hit points, +3 enemy actions, and +3 enemy bonus actions. It's a static, so it's not like it doesn't change. It just is at the beginning of the game. When you're on the Nautiloid, that first imp you see will have 500% extra enemy hit points, +3 actions, and +3 enemy bonus actions. So good freaking luck getting out of there with only Tav and Shadowheart and Lae'zel. That sounds terrifying. I can see why it says the Impossible Challenge. Good luck to anyone who wants to try that. You know, if anyone does that, let me know. Record it and show me. I would love to see that. That sounds like hilarious. Let's turn that on right now just for fun. But that's pretty much everything for the Tactician Enhanced mod. This is one that people have been asking for a very long time, and it's been on my radar ever since the creator announced it in the Party Limit mod. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away in the comments. Otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Baldur's Gate 3 mod videos. Thanks, and I will see you in the next one.